Welcome back to one more Dram with Chris and Reef. We are going to talk about peated casks and the cask influence.
Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you've been tuning in. We've had a couple of long episodes, so
For long discussions.
we can't seem to stop talking. Someone needs to buzz us. 10 minutes left. Buzz us, yeah. Like as Chris mentioned, today we'll be diving a little bit deeper into cask influences and stuff like that. A bit of a carry forward from the last conversation about IBs. Yeah.
And the first correction we would like to make is that James Bond actually drinks Macallan.
So, in the last episode, you may have heard me say that James Bond doesn't drink Macallan. And that holds true because, well, up to Daniel Craig, James Bond, no one drank Macallan, right? So, Sean Connery and Pierce Brosnan and all these guys didn't drink Macallan. They drank martini, champagnes, vodkas, etc. And I think Macallan paid MGM Studios to feature Macallan in the James Bond movie. So it features 3 times in James Bond in 2 movies. One of it is 1969 Macallan, blah blah blah, and then Mr. Bond, this is your favorite, right? And then 2 more times you see Macallan in the background. It's not explicitly featured, but yes. So it's our first and hopefully our only correction regarding our podcast. Next time I'll be more careful before I make sweeping statements about James Bond and Macallan. Yeah, so
as you were saying on the peated cask,
right,
that peated cask won't give you the peaty flavour to the liquid.
You said that.
I say that.
Yeah, you said that.
Yes, I say that.
I'll be very clear on this. In case there's another correction coming, Chris said it. It wasn't me.
Yes, I say that the peated cask won't put the peaty flavour into the liquid you are aging to. The only way you can get peat is through the cleaning stage.
Okay, so maybe, Chris, you want to explain to people, our listeners, what peat is and how peat is measured in a liquid. I think that will give a better understanding of what we're talking about.
Alright.
So I have an understanding. You explain to the people.
Alright, sure. So peat, you can just think it like as a soil.
Yeah.
Because when you are malting the barleys, right, you need to have a little bit of moist into the barley for it to start germinating.
Right.
And until a certain time, so you need to stop the germination. So that's where you want to dry the barleys. So you need something to heat up to provide a fire source, right? When you heat up the barleys.
Yeah. So
they will use peat because peat is so accessible in Scotland. And let's say in the island areas,
right,
you can literally pick it on the street. So you can just use those peat as a fire source to heat up, to dry up your barleys, so you will stop germination and you can get some malted barleys for the future use. So that's where you calculate the peatedness of a liquid or a barley is by ppm. What's the full name is called?
Parts per million.
Yeah, it's a super long name. So
it's parts per million.
How does the peat sticks to the barley is that when you heating it up, the barley is still wet. So when you heat up the peat, the small substance will attach to the barleys. That's how you get your peat into the whiskey. And you can adjust the peat level according to your need. If you want a super heavy peat, there will be an octomole.
And your Port
they
Charlottes
are always chasing over the ppms. So that you get a super high peatiness of the liquid. And like what we said previously is that, let's say I'm from a Speyside distillery, I don't do any peated malt, and if I age it into an ex-Lafroig cask, will I get the peatiness from the cask itself? Which I don't think you are able to get it. You are only able to get the smokiness from the cask, and maybe let's say it's a sherry cask.
Yeah.
Sherry cask, you maybe get some flavors from the sherry, but you won't get the peatiness from the cask.
Okay.
And peatiness and smokiness, they are not always together. They can come separate. There's a lot of people assume that once you have peatiness, you have a smokiness. Yeah. Do you understand now?
Yeah. So the point of contention, the point that we are debating, right, is does peated whiskey imbue the cask with peat flavors? Right, because that's all we want to find out, right? I put peated whiskey into a cask. Let's say it's a ex-bourbon, non-sherry. So ex-bourbon cask, I put peated whiskey inside. Does the peat flavors transition from the whiskey, the liquid, onto the barrel? That's all we have to answer. Because if it does, then we can assume by the same logic that new whiskey put into that barrel will draw out the peat flavors. Here's my thought, right? Okay, so if I take a barrel and I put in bourbon, and then I age it for like, let's say 3 years, and I take out the bourbon, will the barrel still smell like bourbon?
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
If I put a
Okay.
If I put a peated whiskey into a cask, I take out the whiskey 3-5 years later, will it still smell like a peated whiskey? Or will it just smell like whiskey? Because you think the barrel doesn't absorb peat flavors, and I think the barrel absorbs peat flavors. Would the barrel smell like a peated whiskey?
Yeah, for maybe like first 3 days.
After that,
you dry.
So
the flavor.
You think once it dries out, it's done, right? It's just a normal whiskey cask.
It dries out, but once you take out the liquid from there,
right,
and you put a new liquid in,
yeah,
the new liquid will not get the peaty flavors.
We'll see. We're gonna taste some stuff.
You as opening ambassador on the peated cask. Peated cask influence the liquid.
Yeah. And so I think we mentioned on the last podcast about the Old Putney Hadat, and he mentioned obviously that Old Putney is looking to make a lightly peated whiskey, and therefore they use ex-Lafroy cask that provides some peat influence. That's what he said. So.
And today we have.
We have it with us today to try. Yeah. And
how Chris do you say that? Hadat.
Yeah.
Hadat. The end product of a peated cask.
Right, and Chris is going to try and find peat flavors in it.
Opening Hadat. Matured in a hand-selected fine oak ex-bourbon cask and finished in ex-peated malt cask.
Yep, it's a Lafroy cask. It's a common knowledge, but it's not on the label.
Oh, sorry.
It's just not on the label. Yeah, you don't fucking drink OBs, right? What the fuck you want?
Yeah, so it's bottling at 46%.
It tastes peated to me, man.
On the nose, it has a bit of the funky smell.
Yep.
There's a light honey, dry grass.
Hay.
Dry hay, yeah.
Hay.
Smokiness, a little bit of smokiness.
Very slight on the nose.
Yeah. Saliva. A morning breath saliva. There's a bit of raisins?
Raisins? That like sort of like dried summer fruit kind of?
No, it's not very pleasant on the nose.
You're not pleasant on the nose.
But didn't taste much on the first sip, to be honest.
Okay.
Because it's a bit light.
Yeah, it's light. It's very light.
It's hollow.
It's very like an ex-bourbon style, but clearly not first fill bourbons. Definitely multi-time used.
I get the spice. I get a little bit of sweetness.
Yeah. It's just doing everything you can to not say the word peat.
I'm trying to find a peat.
No, you're not.
I'm trying to find a peat.
No, you're not.
But I can't seem to find the peat elements.
Okay, so...
It's more like a plastic.
In defense of Old Putney Hadat, not because I sell the brand, Chris thinks Springbank is not peated.
I think Springbank is slightly peated.
He on multiple numerous occasions, on record, I can't taste the peat in Springbank.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that Springbank is slightly peated. I can't.
Remember at Heidi Lau at Paya Lebar or something, and we had the Springbank Pedro Jimenez, Springbank.
Yeah.
And then I tasted it and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that you could taste the peat this. And then you said, I can't taste the peat in Springbank.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said those exact words. You said, I can't taste the peat in Springbank. So, don't trust Chris.
You can buy one bottle and try it yourself.
Okay, you don't have to fucking make a show about it. So you have to fucking finish it, man.
I'm
He's
just
like trying so hard to find the peated flavors. Okay, final verdict.
There's no peat.
Is it smoky?
Yeah, it's smoky.
Is it reminiscent of a Lefroy?
No, I won't
At
say.
all?
I won't say.
Zero.
It's trying to create another.
Would you be
Lefroy.
surprised to find out that I replaced the liquid of the old putney?
No, nobody is so boring.
I did it. Do you know what I replaced it with?
Lefroy.
No, I was just fucking with you, man.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is so free.
So see, okay, gotcha moment.
No.
No, for someone who doesn't drink peat at all this stuff tastes peated to me.
We are going to try another Peter Cask finish.
Okay.
That is from Lady of the Glen Talkers. Ex Isla PX finish.
Okay.
Distillate non-peated malts.
Okay.
And they are going to treat it to a finish in Ex Isla PX. So we can do another comparison of whether Isla Cask is going to influence the liquid with peatiness.
This is
Alright, so this Glen Talkers is a 10 years old.
yeah.
Like what I said just now, finished in Ex Isla PX cask and a cask strength of 58.9%. Where do you always find Glen Talkers? In your Valentine's. Glen Talkers has been used as a workhouse distillery, so it's seldom you see as a bottling by itself, and that's the beauty about IBs.
Yeah, okay, it's definitely sweeter and a bit more heavier than the Haddad. I get a lot of smoke at the front of the tongue. There's a bit of a spice at the back of the throat. But other than that, it's still quite light. It's a little bit sweet from the PX cask, I'm assuming.
The finishing is more like a chocolate.
Yeah,
Right.
like kind of a thicker, sticky. But that one's ABV, right? That one comes from ABV. 58%. No peat? No peat. This tastes peated to me.
And the last one from Tinic. It was bottled by Whiskey Broker.
Sold by Three Musketeers.
It's a Highland distillery, Tinic. Tinic? How do you...
Tinic?
Tinic? Did I pronounce it correctly?
I hope we don't have another correction.
Filled in a hogshead, treated for a finish in an ex Carlela red wine barricade. And bottled at 12 years with slightly diluted in ABV.
Okay.
52%.
And from the last podcast, we have learned that hogsheads mean bourbon barrels.
It's sweet. It's a little bit smoky. It's a bit light for me on the nose.
It's.
You have a candied cherry.
I was about to say it smells like those like sugared apples. Oh, and then they
I
put
taste a
sugar.
bit of ashy peat at here. For real. Burnt paper, those type of ashy. You know when you smoke a cigarette, the ash. I still stand with you don't get the peat from the cask.
You get the peat from the cask. This one proves it. And this is your bottle.
Just saying as a fact that I do taste ashy peatiness from here.
Like a burnt paper.
Yeah, which is very interesting. You sweet in the mouth. You get the nuttiness, sweet honey.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's a pleasant.
Yeah, it's quite light to be honest. But it's consistent.
Yeah. Amazing.
Some nice flavors. Did you say amazing?
Yeah. Amazing with no bias in it.
Sounds like there was a lot of bias in that.
So you think it's not amazing?
The Haddad was amazing. It blew my socks off, man. Very, very pleasant, very easy to drink. But definitely this one peated for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't deny it, that it has literally peatiness
A little
here.
bit.
It's a bit dry towards the end because I think from the wine cask,
Yeah.
how amazing whiskey is. We are always a learner.
Especially the Cree whiskies. It's extra amazing.
Yeah. and Lady of the Glen. Glen Talkers.
Clearly, yeah. It's the best whiskey Chris has ever tasted. And you should too.
You should too.
Drop by 3mk.sg for all your liquor needs. Chris will show you his secret collection.
That's where I put down my pants. That's my secret collection.
I did not say that. Okay, so we've done the 3 peated, ex-peated casks. What are your final thoughts, Chris?
Well, I still stand with my root that peated casks won't provide you any peatedness to the liquid.
Okay.
But I'm always open to try different peated casks.
Right.
Because it's whiskeys. There's no
one size fit all.
Yeah,
right?
there's not a research done on that. Like, let's say a peated cask 100% won't give you a peaty flavors. So there are possibilities that you can get the peatedness from somewhere else. What if you really have some like dry soil in the cask? Provides you the peatiness. How do you know what's going on with what's within the cask when it's been lying there for 12 years?
I don't know, but I'm quite hoping that there's no soil in the cask.
There's a lot of dirty things going on with the cask industry. No pun intended.
Okay,
Alright.
For me, I think we need 3 whiskies. 2 of it, I think, has peat in it. Light, but definitely there. So I'm on the opposing side again for the 3rd podcast in a row. I'm on the opposing side of Chris. I'm gonna say peated casks definitely add peat flavors. It's gonna be very minimal, I think. Like what we mentioned, a lot of the processes end up stripping peat away from the liquid. This has to be one of them. It's so minimal, it's so light, but it's definitely there for me.
You just do you. Don't listen to your friend. Alright. So since we are on the cask influence to whiskies, and sherry cask has been ever growing popular topics, that we will give you some like surface thoughts. That's what I think. Surface thoughts to you. So you will get, I won't say in depth, but more understanding. Bigger idea on what actually cask influence is on the whiskey. So to start off, you just need to remember 4 things.
Okay.
There is the substract, the cask interacting with the liquid. He's taking away some unpleasant notes or some negative expressions from the liquid to make it more balanced, more pleasant for the liquid itself. And the second one is addition, because you are aging the liquid in the cask, so you're going to get some cask flavors into the liquid itself. And the third will be interactions, the interactions between the cask and the liquid. When your cask breathes, it actually allows oxidation happens for the liquid as well, so you get more flavor interaction together. I mean, that's why you choose oak as your cask. You allow some airspace, but mainly you are going to use American white oak or Europe/Spanish oak. And the last one is going to be your angel chest. That's the 4 things you need to know when you pour a liquid into the oak. So these 4 things, they will be happening at the same time. But let's say if you plan to bottle it at 2 years, you cannot call it a Scotch whiskies. But in other countries, maybe you are going to bottling at 2 years, your liquid might not taste as well-rounded or smooth.
As complete.
As complete, because you might not have enough time for it to interact with the cask. A fun fact is that your sherry cask, it might not be a European or Spanish oak. It might actually be an American oak.
It's definitely an American oak. At this point, we can definitively say.
No, I still don't think like 100% that it is going to be an American oak. So Macallan did use European oak. I think they did state that they use American and European oak on their color collections. So you can't say that all distilleries are only using American oak for sherry cask or sherry cask finished whiskies. To not confuse you further, that you need to separate cask and sherry differently. Cask is from oak, sherry is a liquid, is a wine. So let's say you can use, just an example, that you can use a random oak, then you put a sherry in. You can still call it a sherry cask as long as you are in the Spain, the triangle region.
Triangle, yeah.
Yeah. So oak is oak, sherry is sherry. Oak is just the container of the sherry liquid. So I hope that clarifies before we proceed even further.
I'm not sure why we're proceeding with this. I'm very curious to find out.
You can use different casks to carry the sherry wines, and people assume sherry cask is actually from European or Spanish oak, since where the sherry is originally from. Yeah, but actually it's not. Even for your traditional sherries, back in the 1980s, they won't ship you a European sherry cask from Spain to UK because economically that doesn't make sense. They will use a new virgin American oak. They will fill it up with the matured sherry wines and ship it along. So when you reach there, you'll probably take some time to sell blah 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 all those. But the matured sherry wines you can actually bottle it and sell it as a sherry wines.
Yep.
So the difference between the past and now is that you are using a young sherry wines in the American oak to just run off, smooth the cask, so you don't get too harsh and raw. You cut off the edge. That cask is called seasoned sherry cask from American oak. So the taste will be different, right? Since you are using a young sherry and a mature sherry. Yeah. Thought we had some interactions.
I'm learning as well. So okay, let me jump back a little bit, right? So why do I say that with impunity that most of the distilleries are using American oak? Because as you just mentioned, right, right now they're using young wines, young sherries to season the casks. This is a secondary form of business for the bodegas in Spain. Right, the Jerez bodegas in the Sherry Triangle. What they're doing is they have two sets of maturation. One is their Solera system that ages all the sherry that they're supposed to age for sherry production, right? And then they have a second set of aging warehouses, we'll say, which are purely made to order barrels for Scotland. Whisky distilling purposes, right? So Scottish distilleries, they tie up with the bodega, they get a contract to produce however many barrels, and the bodega basically produces sherry, throws it in a cask, may not entirely be European oak. A lot of the bodegas are buying American oak because why are they buying American oak? It's cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper, it's more cost efficient. They are not going to give you their Solera cask, the exact Solera cask. Because how the sherry works is that, right, you will always have new wines coming in from the top. I forget what's called the top. Is it start with C or something else? So just imagine there's a 3 or 4 layers of different casks lying down like this. And the new wines come in. The older wines, they are called the Solera cask, and they are at the base of it. So new wine come in, you are drawing out from the Solera cask. The cask will never be empty. And the older Solera cask gets, the more valuable it is. So there's no way that the bodegas is going to sell you their Solera cask. Except for a few cases that some of the distilleries, the older distilleries, they might really get some of the Solera cask from the past. But now, unlikely. And I can't think of any recent examples of you really bottle from a Solera cask.
There was one pretty high aged so 43-year-old something. I have the product somewhere. I did take a look at it. Yeah.
So from where?
They went out of their way to state that it's bottled from whiskey aged in a Solera cask. So they went out of their way to say. I don't think it's Glenfiddich.
Glenfiddich also states these are Solera cask wet.
The Solera vets. I don't know what the hell that is.
So anyways, for the sherry cask, they're just going to take some young sherry. You cannot even call it wines.
Yeah.
Sherry vinegars to have you rinse smooth the American oak and they keep some inside to ship to the UK.
Mm.
So the distilleries is going to call it sherry cask, but they might not state that it's seasoned sherry cask.
Mm.
So the key difference is that wine, the current industry, they are using young sherry vinegars or what sherry liquid inside.
Cooking sherry, yeah.
Yeah, cooking sherry to rinse the cask. But in the past, it's still the same cask. It's still the same type of transport. It's just that they are using a matured sherry wine. You can actually bottle the sherry once you reach the UK.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the demand is too high. They are just trying to find a way to cope with the demand and the supply. Seasoned sherry might be their best bet.
For long-term longevity.
Yes, back then, they actually used another method. I think they used a dense wine with some syrups. Then they put them under some high pressure for 10-15 minutes. But the result is not great. So they have changed to a seasoned sherry to replicate somewhat the sherry flavors. And it might be good, it might be bad. You have to take note that the sherry cask is totally different thing from a sherry wines.
Yeah.
It's two different things. Sherry cask is sherry cask in the whiskey industry.
Yeah.
Sherry wine is a sherry wine that they use in the wine for filtered wines after they add brandy or whatever stuffs. So it's two different things. You cannot mix them up together. Else you will have too much of high expectations or misunderstandings of what is a sherry cask finish or sherry cask aging whiskeys. It's totally two different things.
Yes, I remember what I want to tell you. So there's been studies done now, right, where they, as you mentioned, people are trying to replicate the older. So now young wines age 2 years. Back then, to transport sherry, it's about 9 months, right? But the mature sherry versus young sherry, 2 years versus 9 months. What's the real difference here, right? So a lot of people tell you that, not a lot of people, like this one dude, right? This one guy on the internet said, if you take young sherry wines, right, and you add in like whiskey, it tastes like sherry aged whiskey, right? Essentially, that's what distillers are doing, right? Because they're not adding sherry into the whiskey, but it's like they're introducing whiskey to a sherry seasoned cask, and they continue aging it. The maturation continues, right? So the sherry in the oak essentially still has a little bit of chance to mature. The whiskey is definitely maturing. There's a addition, subtraction between the cask interaction, stuff like that. The idea is that after maybe a couple of months, years, whatever, right, the sherry profile has also gotten its own sort of flavor that is different from when it was originally the young sherries. So that is also a concept that's being proven right now. So sherry today versus, sherry cask whiskey today versus sherry cask whiskey from the 1900s, the
key difference is still the age, like
the maturation of the sherries, and I don't think anything else makes a difference. So on that note, I would like to introduce our first non-whiskey tasting. This is a bottle from Gonzalez Bias. Gonzalez Bias. Yeah. So it's a Pedro Jimenez 30-year-old sherry age, 30-year-old age sherry. Right, it's Pedro Jimenez. I've had a little bit of it already because I was impatient and I had to wait a while to film this. But I gotta tell you, this stuff is
great.
It's fucking amazing, and I didn't know what sherry is supposed to taste like because I've had young sherries, I've had non-aged sherries. 30-year-old sherry, this is like glue, guys. It's like have you had a aged sherry before? So this is diabetes in a bottle. I'll fucking tell you that. And later on, Chris is gonna probably superimpose something here, but you'll see like the red label. Yeah. This is the law about it requiring to be made and bottled everything in Harris, the triangle, for it to be called sherry. So
PX, they are matured with oxidization, along with like Oloroso, because sherry is a big category.
Family,
yeah. So you have Oloroso, PX, those are mature with oxidation, where you actually increase. That's where you call the forfeited wines.
45.
Or fortified wines to increase the ABV. So you kill the flaw, the yeast. So the other category is that you biologically age a sherry wine, where you have the yeast forming a layer on top called floor, right? Floor, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
Floor. That is a biological, like phenol.
Natural aging.
Yeah, natural aging.
Natural
Phenol.
aging. Phenol.
And manzanilla.
Manzanilla.
Yeah.
So there's like 8 different sherries, I think. You have your Oloroso, Pedro Jimenez, Fino, Armatidlo,
Yeah, there's
Port Calado.
all the non-Asian friendly
Yeah,
names.
and then obviously Pedro Jimenez. Did I say it already? I don't know.
Yeah, so
Fino Oloroso, Manzanilla, Port Calados, Armatidlo. Palo Cado, yeah, that one. Yes, yes. A bunch of. But
the first impression, it smells like vinegar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so. A lot of people will tell you, right? If you leave out wine for a long time, it turns to vinegar. This shit is funny. It's vinegar, man. I don't know how to tell you how viscous this is. Lean forward.
Yeah, so it's super thick.
Super,
you get
super
a lot of like apple vinegars.
Yeah, I get a lot of lychee, man.
Lychee. Yes, lychee.
Yeah, lychee.
Very fruity.
Very, very fruity.
Indeed. That's how you get diabetes.
This is diabetes in a bottle, guys.
It's super, super sweet.
Yeah.
It's thick. It's like literally drinking a honey syrup from the bottle itself. A monster.
A monster, yeah.
Nutrient grade C.
Literally F, man.
I think you can literally drop it on your waffles in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's syrupy enough to do it. Lychee is very strong in this one.
Yeah. What's the ABV? 15.5?
15.5, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I've got sherry on my hands, man.
What are you going to do about it?
I want to lick my hands.
Finger licking good.
It's not that good.
So, if you haven't tried a sherry wine before,
Yeah, I've never tried till today.
yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't try a sherry wine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you won't think of sherry wines when you're picking wines, right?
Yeah, because there is in it of itself a dessert wine, right? It's supposed to be drunk on its own. So, the reason why I was quite excited to pick up this bottle was because now I've been selling whiskey for 3 years, right? And I always say Pedro Jimenez, PX Casks, Pedro Jimenez, and then I've tasted so many whiskeys, and I kind of know what a Pedro Jimenez cask finish tastes like.
Like we assume
Yeah.
what is a PX cask finish is.
yeah.
We thought it's really the cask.
Yeah, right. So I've drunk so many whiskeys, and I think, this one has to be Pedro Jimenez, right? Because it's got the little of dryness, it's got this, it's got that. This flavors equals Pedro Jimenez. This flavors equals Oloroso. And then one day someone asked me, he was like, dude, this doesn't taste like Pedro Jimenez at all. And I was like, in my mind, how the fuck would you know, right? And then I think, how do I know? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I asked Chris and recommended a supplier friend of ours who gave me a good price on the bottle. So here we have it, 30-year-old Pedro Jimenez. It's really, really an experience, I think.
It's really a shame that we didn't try the sherry wines and we assume
Right,
what sort of flavor they are going to put on the whiskey itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But actually, when you taste the wine itself,
yeah, it's nothing like what you think sherry is going to taste like, right?
yes.
It's quite, and now I'm super motivated to find the other sherries.
You might not need to know 100% about the sherry wines, everything or whatever, but it's good to know for you to understand some of the sherry survey. So next time a salesman approach you and tell you that I have a sherry cask whiskies,
Right.
so you can ask them back. Is it a seasoned sherry cask in American oak, or is it a European matured sherry cask, sherry wines? blah blah blah, all sort of things.
And your salesman is 100% not gonna know what the fuck you're talking about. I'll guarantee you.
He will think you are a fool. He'll think you are a fool, but no. So we hope you get some takeaways from here.
Yeah.
And we will see you.
We'll see you in the next one. Yeah.
Next episode.
Where we won't disagree so much.
We'll start boxing.
Alright, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for being a part of our journey, and we'll see you in the next one.